Welcome back to the Authentic Human Podcast, where we explore creation, consciousness, existence, and evolution through conversations with universal beings. Why? So we can get the truth the first time. We don't want to waste time, and we actually want the universal perspective. So today is part 109 of the story of creation, a series that we've been following for over a year, since January 2025. And when the creator asked if I would partner with, well, a whole bunch of universal beings, and a whole bunch is like millions, and ultimately share the truth that has been kept hidden from us. And that in itself is a little bit controversial, because it's not really hidden from itself, from us. It's not really hidden. It's that we've been trained to believe we don't have access to it, which is a very different thing than it actually being hidden. But for all intents purposes, they being the universal beings who chose to participate in exploring if they could create an opportunity where humanity would be disconnected from our universal selves. They wanted to see if that was possible, is really how that all started. And well, we can see how it turned out, because it turns out they did a really good job. But there are some really important things that you need to know and you need to understand. And first and foremost is your connection with the universe can never be fully severed. It can't actually be severed at all. It can be masked and cloaked. And what they did is they created a number of strategies, a number of systems to ensure that it's remained hidden. Okay. So what does that mean? What does that look like? Well, it looks like the 4 systems that have ensured that you forget who you are. So one is the medical system, right? The medical system is based on the concept that A, you are broken, and B, someone outside of you is going to fix you. Okay. So ultimately, they then created a system where you go back in for checkups to see if you're well or not. So someone else can tell you if you're well. Okay. The other part that came out of the medical system is a belief that you can put something in your mouth, you can take something to make you feel better. Right. And so all of these dynamics have created a society where we currently live in that is filled with propaganda, right? So it's filled with propaganda that's, superfoods and peptides and all kinds of different healing modalities and, different chemotherapy and all of these systems that ultimately are designed to, it's really interesting the way they're showing me, to mimic the results we want without actually, the way they're showing me is without actually reconfiguring the cells. And ultimately, that's a massive problem, because you're not actually healing, right? Because healing is rebalancing of your system. And so your cells need to change. They need to be reprogrammed energetically, right? But that's not what we've been taught. We've been taught specifically that everything happens on a physical level. That's why people can't get the results they're after, right? It's not because your body can't heal. It's because your body was designed to heal. And the system in place, it doesn't matter if it's a natural system or, it really doesn't matter. There's so many systems and they all want to help. And the thing is when someone wants to help you heal, it is typically because their core belief is you're broken and you need to be fixed. And that belief is not in alignment with universal existence. Okay. Because universal existence recognizes the truth that humans were created as self-healing. So your body knows how to self-heal. Now, there does get to a point where you've trashed it, really, for lack of a better term. You've been so hard on your body that it can't self-heal. It can't come back. But It takes a lot to get to that point. And there have literally been people who, the medical system has said they're days away from passing away. And they have healed themselves. And they've been labeled miracles. The truth is, they're actually just realigning with who they are in their soul. And their shift in their conscious belief system, it's not just, oh yeah, I can heal. It's understanding and recognizing that they went through that journey to surrender to the truth of who they are and what they're capable of. And then what happens is, in that shift, their frequency and vibration changes, their energy changes. And that's what's actually doing the healing. There's a lot of different modalities, different experiences, but it all comes down to the fact that the person has surrendered to the fact that their body is able to actually heal. Okay? But you can see that that's really what we're dealing with. We're dealing with all these layers that the medical system has put into our head. The second system is religion. Okay? I know I was raised, right? You don't talk about religion, you don't talk about politics. You just keep all those things to yourself. And that's really what we've been taught, right? Don't challenge the religious system. Don't challenge any of what we're told. But the truth is, the religious system indoctrined, and this is, tens of thousands of years ago. So this is long before, the current world that we live in right now, where people are starting to challenge and question and all of these things like Jesus, did Jesus really die on the cross? Right? And the reality is, why are we even asking these questions and expecting other people to give us the answer? Because people don't hold the answers. The universe holds the answers. Consciousness holds the answers. And all of the universal beings have access to all this truth. But guess what? You're a universal being. You have access to all this truth. But you won't access it if your beliefs are in alignment with what you've been told, right? Because the religious system literally is where judgment came from, okay? Our entire society is based on judgment culture. And so when you're focused on judgment, okay, you block any of your power to create anything. You can't create. You can mimic, you can clone things, right? Which is what our society is based on, cloning everything, right? We're going to do it again and we're going to tweak it so it's a little bit better. And then we're going to tell you it's revolutionary. It's everything from the food we eat, right? Look at the cereals, look at the electronics, vehicles. It doesn't matter. We're going to tweak a tiny bit, but really it's just a clone. It's the same thing done in the same way, but somebody else put their name on it and said, oh, it's so much better because we put this stereo in, or, we use this material and we're going to charge you 5 times as much, or we're going to put this material and we're going to use this material and we're going to charge you 10 times less. It doesn't really matter. They're all the same thing. Nobody is out there doing anything revolutionary, right? Because by this point in evolution, we as a human race in our awakening journey should be at the place where we're traveling in vehicles that are in alignment and sustainable with the environment. There hasn't been one created yet. And yet there has, but those people have been silenced. Now, why would that happen? Right. Because they don't want those people coming out. Because if you believe you have to get into a car and you have to drive to work, guess what happens? You have to drive to work because you have to pay for your car, right? Well, welcome to the financial system. The financial system that says you're not worthy unless you can prove to us you're worthy. Yay, right? That's brilliant. And you have to prove just how much you're worthy. And if you want something, well, you have to have something first to show for it. You can't just have it, right? We're not going to just give it to you. And so we've got this entire financial system that has created the most fear. Everything is based on the financial system. Every fear, every war, every what's the word I'm looking for? Every horrible thing that people do, right? Like when they, murder and when you see people doing things that are just horrible, it's all based on money, all of it. And it's the money aspect, though, is not really what you think. Okay. It's understanding that the reason people do things for money is ultimately because they don't feel like they're in control of the situation. And they feel like they're going to do this to have more money, so they'll be in control more. That's the fear that has basically been used as a weapon against humanity. And it's this fear that I'm never going to be enough if I don't have more money, and it doesn't matter how much you have, right? This is even billionaires. It's understanding that they do it all for control. They want to have the control and the freedom to do anything they want. Okay? And so then we've got the fourth system, which is the one that really drives all of this home. Okay? It makes sure that we start training really young, really from the moment we're born. And it's the education system. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying teachers are horrible. Okay? Teachers typically go into teaching for one of two things. They either love kids or they want their summers off. It's one of those two things. And the reality is the education system was created to ensure beliefs were not only taught, but that they were anchored in. So now they're generations deep. Because if you go back and you think about what you learned as a child in school, okay, and a lot of it is the same about what your parents learned and your grandparents, and it's just generation after generation after generation. And what's happened is we're now at a place where we're questioning. We're questioning the things that we're learning. And we're starting to realize that our history, well, those history lessons don't make any sense. Cultural, social sciences don't make any sense. None of it makes sense. And those are the pieces that actually shape who we are. So math, science, they're numbers, and they do get you to think about things in certain terms. And the other part is, well, yeah, it's really cool because the way they're showing me is math triggers your brain to think very analytically from a physical perspective. So it anchors your brain into wanting to see proof, actually more than science. Math is that anchor for that. This is fascinating. I've never gone into this part all at this depth, so this is great. And so ultimately, math anchors in any resistance to freedom, really. So it blocks your potential from coming in. It's probably one of the most things, because here's the thing, right? Like, you can measure things and you can count things, but the moment you need to start figuring these larger equations that are done with a mathematical mindset are actually designed to complicate instead of figure out. And they're showing me, because figuring out creation is actually really simple, because it's not based on numbers, it's not based on math, it's not based on calculations. Creation is based on existence, and it's based on energy, and it's based on frequency, and it's based on vibration, which is why they've strategically made sure that none of that truth of the basic origins of human existence, the basic origins of universal existence, are in the curriculum. So and you have to remember, right? Like, think about this, right? Your children go into school from 4 years old until, I don't know, 17, 18. And then if they decide to go further, they keep going. And so what's happening is it's the government raising your children, right? Like the system, the education system is indoctrinating. It's basically an indoctrination program. So it's really fascinating that we've got, we've learned about residential schools, for example, and how horrible those things are. And yet we still, and they are, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're not. I am 100%. It's disgraceful, and understanding what they were trying to do and what they were, what's experiments that they were using on humans was diabolical. There's just no other word for it. But the reality is the belief around the education system, it's all experiments. It's exactly the same thing. And yet we deem it okay. We deem it a privilege. How many people out there are their good works, their good work that they're doing in their business is to raise money to build more schools, to indoctrinate more people around the world, even though they don't realize that that's what they're doing. They genuinely want to help. The truth is, human beings were born brilliant. We were born curious, and we were born with the courage to follow through on our curiosity. The system made darn sure that we doubt everything about ourselves. That's what it did. And then you've got the overall system that makes sure all of those systems remain in place, and that's the government. Okay? And the government, every region has a government, right? Every country has a government. Every province, if you're in Canada, or state, if you're in the States, own governments. Every country. But what you may not know and you may not understand is there actually is one governing body for the entire government system structure in the world. There's one. And currently what's happening around the world is every country is experimenting, right? The governments are experimenting on their people to see how far they can push them, how far they can pressure them into submitting, into healing. It's more like a healing. Like, when you teach your dog to heel and stay really close and do exactly what you say, that's what they're doing. And it does come from, we're already in a one world government. And I know that that's hard to believe. It's hard to accept. It's, most people are going to say I'm crazy. Well, the universal beings who created this universe understand all of this. They understand how humanity, they created humanity. They created the universe. They created the solar systems. They created every aspect of matter in existence and every aspect of an energy. Okay. And they've never lied. They only share truth. Okay. And the truth is that there is a one world government. It is based in a very small country. I don't actually want to say these words. So I'm just going to we're going to come together. I'm just going to keep following the energy. It's not that I don't want to say the words. They're not there yet, but I am nervous of what is coming anyways, doesn't matter. All Michelle stuff. So I'm just going to push it out of the way again. So it's based in a very small country, and they use religion as their cover. Okay. And when I say small country, I'm giggling, not because they would take offense to that. But at the same time, they're kind of smirking because they're like, yep, and we control and we rule the whole world as a result. And the reality is they're the ones who have infiltrated consciousness, if you will. And what I mean by infiltrated, okay, is they're manipulating our minds into thinking we don't have a connection to consciousness. We don't have a connection to the universe. We are not universal beings. Why? Because then we can be controlled. It's actually quite brilliant if you wanted to control. And that's what they did. And that's what they're doing. The challenge is that humanity as a whole doesn't want to be controlled. And yet we keep participating in being controlled. And so you see the dynamic. The beings that are controlling are participating in the universal experience. It's us who aren't. It's us who don't want to be controlled. It's all the rest of us who we don't want to be controlled. So we're angry and we're trying to fight back at the system, or we're trying to fix the system. But the system was created based on control and manipulation. It was created by beings with the sole intent to see how far they could disconnect, right? Create the illusion that humans were disconnected from existence. How crazy is that? And we're feeding right into their plan, right into it, beautifully. Why and how? By getting angry, by focusing solely on how angry we are at being controlled, being manipulated, feeling frustrated. And there's millions of people saying, we want the truth, we demand the truth. Okay, so let me explain to you how existence works, okay? You have access to truth, but you have to want it, number one. And want it does not mean, tell me the truth, I want the truth. That's not wanting the truth. Wanting the truth is understanding and recognizing that you're going to receive information that is going to change how you see yourself, how you see existence, and how you participate in existence. You're going to have to change that. That's truth. Okay. You can see it in your relationships, in your family. You know, if you say to someone, I want the truth, you realize that the moment they tell you, an aspect of your existence with them is going to change. It's the same thing with this dynamic. And yet people are sitting there going, well, I just want the truth, but they don't really. They don't. But the other side is universal beings, right? All of us. Now, do you tell the truth 100% of the time? No. You shift it, you manipulate it, you change it so that you're more comfortable, so that other people around you are more comfortable. It's little things. It's not massive things. It's, you know, when you say something and you say, you know, oh, I did that and I did it this way and this how, and I had 20 of them, when really you maybe had 10, but you just kind of blew it up a little bit because you wanted the person to understand how significant that was to you. Okay. So that's not the truth. And we are so casual at this stage and at this place with truth, right? You see people when there was an interview I saw the other day, and this gentleman was saying, well, it's no big deal, you know, like, let's not get our panties in a twist here that, you know, we're talking about all this pedophile stuff on Epstein's island. And the interviewer just was like, are you kidding me? You're kidding, right? But that's the point, is the fact that we have these people portraying it's no big deal, right? Well, this is the part of the problem. This is what I'm talking about. So next time you find yourself saying, oh, it's no big deal, everything is important. Does it all need to be a big deal? No. But when you try to cover up the truth to make yourself more comfortable, right? Even in the little things that you do, you're making that behavior okay as a whole global experience. And this is where universal existence is so important, okay? Because the truth is, the reason we lie is because we're fearful of judgment, period, right? Judgment, lovely judgment that came from the religious system, okay? But now every human in existence holds judgment. And so, well, that's extreme. It's not every human, but most. They're 99 point something percent, okay? But the reality is they use judgment to protect themselves from the truth. And that's the problem. That's what we're getting to today, is when you use judgment to protect yourself from truth, right? To protect yourself from needing to share truth, or to protect yourself from wanting to hear truth, right? So your judgment could look like, she doesn't really know what she's talking about. Perfect judgment, right? Or I didn't really mean to say that, right? All of these they're actually judgments. But judgment doesn't exist on a universal level. Zero. That's why they needed to make darn sure you were filtered. You were cut off from consciousness. So you didn't believe it was possible to connect with your soul, to communicate with your soul, to communicate with universal beings. Chances are pretty good you don't even know what a universal being is. And that's the world they created, and humanity just went happily right into it. Like literally like sheep, we followed each other, right? One generation after another, through the education system, through the financial system. And we actually believed that the governments had our back. Why? Because that's what we were told. And why do we do that? Because humans genuinely want to participate with other humans. We genuinely want to connect with other humans. We trust. But what happens when your trust gets broken so many times, you start to ask bigger questions. And your bigger questions are not, tell me the truth. Your bigger questions are, why are you lying? What are you lying about? And that's where we are currently as a human race. So there's a whole bunch of humans. There's a huge movement. And some people are calling it an awakening. It's a remembering. It's a recognition of our roots and our heritage, and knowing that the stories we've been told and that have been labeled as history, and the most iconic and the most important figures in history, they're not real. They're not real. Those things didn't happen. And 99% of the time, those people were horrible people. They did horrible things. You look up Christopher Columbus. Look at his history. It's not pretty, right? It's right up there with Sir John A. Macdonald in Canada, right? They're not pretty. And because more people are pulling out that truth, they're not willing to be muzzled anymore. It's right, like healing and muzzling. You can see that we've been treated like animals. Well, it's also really interesting because, yeah, anyways, there's a whole bunch there. I'm not going to go into that because yeah. But the reality is we've let ourselves be tricked and trained and prodded. And that's the truth that we have to accept first. Because if you can't accept that, if you're too angry still, if you're still focused on how angry you are at all these systems and all of these things that were done, then you can't come out from inside of it. You can't, because your anger is literally feeding that system. So what do we do? Where do we go from here as a human race? Well, we have to first be willing to see the truth, and you got to feel it. And you know you've hit the truth when you're uncomfortable, when you know you got to change. And usually that change is going to propel other changes. The change in you is going to propel a ripple effect. And that's the part that your brain has decided, oh, I'm going to judge it already, right? I'm going to say it's not safe. It's not comfortable for those I love. I don't want to hurt them. Well, that's judgment. You're judging that those people can't handle you knowing the truth and you creating a space for truth in their lives. See how that works? You're still using judgment. And that's what they're trying to explain. That's what this is all about, is helping you understand and recognize that truth isn't the weapon. They haven't been withholding truth at all. In fact, truth is just sitting there waiting for you. What they've done is poison your mind into thinking you don't have access to truth, you can't handle the truth. And when you do get truth, you should fear it. And how do you fear it? By getting angry and rejecting it and doing everything you can to make sure that other people don't believe that truth either. That's where we are as a society. Super fun, especially for those of us who want truth and we're willing to create the change. We're willing to participate at that universal level because we know that's what this life is all about and we don't want to waste it. So you got leaders who want truth and who are willing to withstand the judgment, right? In all the forms, the hate, the ridicule, the banning, the fires, whatever it is. There's so much, but they keep going, right? They're the people that inspire us, but they're also the people who make us a little bit nervous and a little bit scared because we recognize that we have the potential to create just as great change as they are. But that means we have to change. It means we have to accept truths that we haven't wanted to accept yet. It means we have to recognize our true self. And so that's at the root, that's at the heart of what's really going on. And it all comes back to the origins of existence, the origins of human existence in the universe, and how the universe works. Because when you understand how the universe works, you won't fight against the system anymore. You won't try to fix the system. You will 100% understand that the humans who are incarnate right now, who are here to create a new world, the future of human existence. We're not here to fix the old one. That system is dead. It's not alive. It's not aligned with self-governance, with self-healing. It's not aligned with universal existence. It's not aligned with truth and purity and joy and balance and movement, respect and compassion. All the 9 universal energies of existence. It's not aligned with any of them. It's simply aligned with control and manipulation and making sure that they did whatever they needed to do, right? They introduced judgment. They introduced fear to existence. They didn't exist before. You would have awareness and recognition that you were going to step into something that was challenging, but you never feared it. You just did it. You were like, okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to climb this mountain. Okay, so who do I need to become to be the person who can actually climb this mountain? Well, there's a lot of training that goes into that. And there's awareness of what could happen, but there's full participation. That's an exploration, right? But we live in a world where if you say you want to go climb a mountain, you're going to have at least 2, 3, 4, 500 people that are going to say to you, you're crazy. Do you know how scary that is? Do you know what could go wrong? Do you know how to prepare for that? It's all judgment and it's all shame. We do not live in a world where people go, that's incredible. I want to follow your journey. You're inspiring me. And yet there are those handful of people. They're few and far between, but they exist. And they're the ones who keep us going. They're the ones who bring the light, bring the truth. And they're not worried about focusing on the system because they understand that they're not ignorant for not knowing what the evening news says. They're not ignorant for not being aware of what the government is doing. No, they're participating in universal existence, how universal existence was created. They don't have limits. They don't have challenges with money. Money comes to them because they're participating in universal existence. Their experiences are funded by the universe. The universe works in an exchange of abundance. So if you're angry, you got nothing to work with. If you're resentful, you got nothing to work with. And that's the shift that's happening. We are literally going from angry humans who are very frustrated with feeling control and manipulation. That's why we're so darn tired, because we keep trying to fight the system. I mean, tired is a light word for the absolute mental, emotional, and physical exhaustion that most of us are under. Why? Because we've been inundated, right? Then you've got an entire entertainment industry that makes sure the words there, they mold images of how they want humans to see how existence should be. That's really what the entire entertainment industry was designed to do, right? Everything from love and romance to war, to what we need to do, right? We need to fight. We need to everything. It doesn't even matter. It's also how we see aliens. Like it's absolutely incredible what the entertainment industry has the capacity to do, to create. Okay. And I can tell you that there are so many people who, they wanted to write books, they wanted to create movies, they wanted to write music that flowed from them. But then they changed to the pressure, right? The judgment again of who they needed to be to survive, who they needed to portray, and how they needed to portray themselves, right? It's everything. I mean, you wouldn't believe I get, I don't know, 10, 12 emails a day because I have, I don't know, 300 or 400 videos on YouTube and 900 subscribers. That's it. And I get so many people telling me, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong. Why am I doing it wrong? Well, because I won't lie. I won't try to trick you into watching my videos. Like, I have no interest in that. I'm just going to tell you the truth. And if your vibration and frequency is at that level where truth resonates with you, you're going to find it. And people are coming, the right people, the people who are ready to hear all of it. And that's what we want to do to create the new world, is understand and recognize that judgment won't get us there. So if you're wasting your time judging yourself or judging others and using judgment in any way, and they gave you all the examples in this episode, I mean, ultimately there's tons more, but they gave you some really good ones to start to understand and recognize just how powerful you are. That's the whole point. Just how powerful you are. Because if you're using judgment to fight the system, your power, your conscious power, but the way it's like your sovereign universal energy is feeding the control and manipulation. You're not fighting against it, is feeding it. You're not creating anything new. And yet that's who you were created to be, to create something new, to create something revolutionary. But your mind believes that revolutionary looks like a new ad campaign with the best new product that people want to buy. That's not revolutionary. That's just more stuff. Revolutionary is understanding that your mission is to explore your potential. What are you interested in? Not what is someone else interested in, or what can you do to someone else's creation to tweak it and make it a little bit better? No. It's exploration, universal exploration in existence is based on the individual potential of every single being in existence. That's what you're here to do. Explore what yours is. It's not a job description. It's whatever you're interested in. Your job is to follow it. That's why they created a system to make sure that you couldn't follow whatever you were interested in. You had to follow the rules. You had to follow a system and follow through to get to a point where you get to your life and you're like, this is not what I want to do. This is not who I want to be. But I got to do it anyways because now I'm locked in. I've made all these commitments. Got to make the payments. At the end of the day, you have the potential to participate in creating the new world. So are you going to feed the system? the broken system that thrives on control and manipulation? Or are you going to step into your birthright? Are you going to reclaim that sovereignty? And it's really simple. You don't have to do a big ceremony. It's a surrender. It's a moment of surrender to truth and being willing to see the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it's going to make you. Allow it in, because I'll tell you, truth feeds freedom. And your freedom is right there on the other side, because as soon as you start getting the truth and acting on the truth and participating in it, the universe hears you. It answers your call, and it will 100% participate with you. You're not alone. That's why you see these people doing incredible things, remarkable things, performing miracles, things that defy logic. Well, because the universe is there, making sure everything falls into place. But it can't do that if you're following the system, because it's literally you saying, no, universal existence isn't right for me. I need to keep following the system. So let go of being angry at the system, at the people. People lie. So what? Move on. Just stop lying to yourself. Let yourself accept the truth, feel the truth, and allow yourself to become one with truth. I know that can sound cheesy, but ultimately, that's it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for watching, and let me know how you're doing. Let me know if you're enjoying this series, if you're ready for this level of truth, because it's coming. So if you're not, then you don't want to keep watching. But more pieces are coming and more pieces are unfolding. And we've talked about topics already that have been very on the edge of what's socially acceptable. And we are going deeper. So they're preparing you for what's coming. And not as a threat. It's just, the truth is, are you ready? Do you want to know it all? Because there's a lot of people who say they do, but as soon as they do, they get angry, they get frustrated, and they want to fight back, and they want to, state all the facts that they know are true. And that's the point, is all the facts, when you have to come back at universal truth with all the facts that you know, that's you. That's your brainwashing. That's you being indoctrined into this system that is based on control and manipulation. And it is so intricate. It is so fine. And it's understanding that it is the entire system of this civilized world that we live in. Humans before were not barbaric or archaic. We weren't barbarians. We weren't walking around without any intelligence. No. Now we are more than ever before. We were pure. We were in the highest state of conscious existence, completely aligned with nature, with the natural environment, but not only that, with the universe, with our own potential. That's how we were existing. And that's what they had to cut off. And that's the truth that has to come back, because when you recognize that your roots, you actually are created to align with the universe, and you have access to your origins and your history. So when you access that information, now you know who you are. When you know who you are, you can actually begin to create. You can begin to create the future of human existence. You can begin to create the world that you actually want to live in, that you actually want to experience. So the question isn't, how can you change the system to fit the version that you think the system should be in? The question is, if you were creating a world from scratch, what would it look like? Because that's what we're doing. That's the only way for us to move forward. It's a bigger question. Okay. I'll see you next time. Bye for now. I'm Michelle Vickers, Authentic Human Podcast, signing off.